Is the miracle promised by AI a double-edged sword? On the one hand, people like Mr. Altman of OpenAI promise exponential increases in productivity, reducing the workload, making your life easier. It's what Steve Jobs would describe as a
bicycle. No, bicycle of the mind.
But what if learning to cycle meant you forgot how to walk? A growing body of research has been examining the impact that AI has been having on our brains, and some of the results are a little worrying. My name is William Hunter, and let's explain wellness. So we got this study out of MIT called Your Brain on ChatGPT, and the results of this are kind of reinforcing that scary feeling that you're having.
Yeah. So what have they found out?
So they hooked up students' brains to an EEG machine, and that's watching how their brain is reacting while they're doing certain tasks. And between the two different groups, one working with their own brains and one using ChatGPT,
there was a 55% reduction in neural connectivity.
And we're going to break into this a little bit more, but we'll find out why 83.3% of those students who used AI couldn't remember a single sentence of what they just wrote moments after finishing it.
My God.
The producers want to test that recall. They're going to run a classic psychological protocol called the generation effect. They're going to give us a list of simple word pairs, like hot and cold, up and down, and see how we get on. Micah doesn't know that we've thrown in rhyming pairs and categories that she will also have to remember for the next part of the test.
Oh, it rhymes. Fish. Wow, I actually get it now.
Apple, something beginning with B that matches with an apple.
Trip.
Jet lag? Incorrect. Journey.
Oh, okay. Journey. Bread associate with bread. Butter.
Hint P. Carrots. Potato.
Teacher.
Cat rhyming H hat.
Student.
How many will I remember?
How many will you remember?
How many will you remember?
Let's now move on to recall.
That was rapid, I believe.
Mate, this is, I can't remember the fish.
Oh, I'm actually a genius.
Oh, yeah, mate. Wow, 80%. I'll take that. I could have got 100, man.
So much germane load.
So we got this study from Slameka and Graf, who are two psychologists from the University of Toronto. They found that recall rates were significantly higher when you just had that little moment of struggle. When you get rid of the struggle, the recall rates also fall down.
AI version is giving me the answer each time, so it's the king and the queen, and category is going to be B.
So carrots. Potato. I'm doing nothing to engage with this.
Spider, web.
I reckon I'll do about 9 of those.
Spider, bug, ant, finish, ant. I just said it, didn't I? Spider, wasn't it?
I have passive atrophy. That doesn't seem good.
Okay, only 60%, which is not great.
Oh my God, so that's what AI did to me.
So in cognitive load theory, we would talk about the brain's working memory falling into 3 distinct categories.
So what is the intrinsic load?
So that's the overall difficulty of a task. How difficult a passage is to read, how hard a piece of algebra is to do.
And what about the extraneous load?
So that's the environment that makes it a bit more confusing. So you might think about it as like a page being badly formatted or an application being confusing and difficult to use.
And the germane load?
So that's the energy that's used for construction. This is your brain taking that information and building that into what we call a schema, which is sort of a map of how everything fits together.
Yeah. And why is that so important?
So what this paper showed is that the generational effect only kicks in when the task is easy. Something like just matching pairs, basically.
So can a task be so hard that the generational effect stops working?
Yeah, so this comes down to cognitive capacity. We used to think that the brain had 7 slots, which is of how many things that you could process at a single time. But now, what psychologists are beginning to realize is that we probably only have about 4 of these slots. When the task is really complicated and difficult, there's lots of load, those slots fill up really, really quickly. So that's why the producers are updating the experiment. We want to see if we can overload those 4 slots by using complex logic puzzles. So, does AI, as a work example, help clear the extraneous and intrinsic jam and actually help you remember?
and 7 for the next step. So yeah, that checks out. 66.
43.
DW.
There you go.
Amazing. That was way easier than I thought it was going to be.
So it sounds pretty landmark for cognitive load.
It is, but this new paper published in August actually goes so far as to say that AI can change what you think.
Which is promising?
Sort of. So it introduces a mechanism called cognitive reconstruction. So this is where a student's brain is clogged up with the physical burden of drawing. Anything you might do while using complex 3D modeling software.
And that's the extraneous load.
Exactly. So with AI, that extraneous load is deleted, and that frees up your cognitive capacity to spend on creativity.
And what are the numbers we're talking about here?
We're looking at around a 27% reduction in cognitive friction, and that's the sort of difficulty of required to do a task.
Yeah.
What you might think is the extraneous load here. We're also looking at 9.4% increase in critical thinking and sort of heightened critical thinking. So that's the germane load. But most importantly of all, we're seeing a 600% increase in ideas generated.
Wow, 600%. So I guess AI can be that bicycle after all.
Well, the question is, are you riding the bicycle or is it just dragging you along?
We started out with this very abstract classical puzzle, Cannibals Missionaries, I think, the original version of it. And another one that is used a lot is the Towers of Hanoi. It's so tricky. You know the game by now, I suppose. And it has a very intuitive part in it where you have to do something which you don't want to do, right? And then you can make the switch.
So he had these two groups.
What we call externalization and internalization. It's a very old thing. And the whole idea of, discover something yourself and you will know, and let people show you, you will forget. It's all in the philosophy books of Wayne Lang.
So the externalization group had helpful software with grayed out illegal moves and hints.
And this means that the externalization would be better because they had help, so they didn't overload.
The impression they are being helped. Makes people feel like, gee, this is a small problem, kind of aimlessly click, oops, I'll put this one there and this one over there, without planning. It discourages proactive contemplation, as I call it, and that's what it does.
Nijmegen showed evidence that externalization inhibits proactive contemplation. That's the process of deep thought that allows you to really consider things in a much more complex way. And that's what we're going to test you on now. Welcome to the balls and boxes simulation. The producers have rebuilt Nijmegen's exact protocol, except where the arrows were grayed out, there is an AI assistant to the right that walks you through it. The goal is to move the balls to match the target configuration, but there are strict rules on what ball can stack on what.
So I've got to match the target configuration, maximum 3 balls in the dish at once, and the blue can't outnumber the yellow in any of the bins.
In this first round, Micah is Group B, the externalized group. The AI is active. It will tell her if a move is valid before she makes it and suggest the next step.
The best move is to take 2 balls across from the right. 2 blue. Okay. Blue. 1 blue to the left.
Yellow to the right.
Blue cannot outnumber yellow, so more, okay.
Oh, I see. Okay, I get it.
Why can't I go back? Oh my god, I have to take it in turns.
I can't go back. I think I've solved it. There we go.
I can't figure out at all how this is working. So I'm basically just following exactly what the AI assistant on the side is telling me to do.
Wait, this is so easy now with the AI.
But the AI is just doing it for me. It's not helping me. It's like mum and dad doing your homework for you. You'll never learn.
I'm getting 2 blue over this time. 1 to carry it over, and then please let me take 3. Yeah. All right.
A visual rotation. Identify the figures in the corners that match the centre figure. None. Click none.
So this is clearly designed to make me forget how I solved the previous one, which I found equally difficult.
Oh bro, this is too difficult.
Okay, cool. Can't remember a single way to do this.
The non-AI group's struggle was productive. They were slowly getting the hang of it. They were building that mental map we talked about. But the AI group, As soon as we cut the feed after the rotation task, we didn't just struggle, we were severely stunted. Microsoft research found that high confidence in AI makes you stop checking your work. It's a shift from problem solving to task stewarding. Your independent skill rots. Even though your efficiency goes up, you aren't lifting the weight anymore.
So if we're just stewarding for 40 hours a week, what happens when you then can't use that AI?
Well, Nijmegen tested that too.
What we did here in task 4, it was quite fun to do. We faked a power outage. So the people were working and bang, it went all off. And when it came back on, it was exactly there where you were. No, so you had to think, gee, what was I doing? And it cannot be more clear than this. The externalization group, they were completely off guard.
Because they weren't building a mental map of the work. They were just following instruction.
So we become helpless.
We become fragile. This paper, published a few months ago, argues that we are entering an era of cognitive offloading. They interviewed 666 participants to see how their AI usage correlates with their critical thinking scores. They found that the more someone uses AI, the worse they performed on critical thinking tests. And younger participants showed a much higher dependence on AI, and consequently, had lower critical thinking scores than older participants. The real danger is biological. By constantly offloading the heavy mental lifting, we risk depleting our cognitive reserve, the neural buffer that protects our brains as we age.
So the idea of cognitive reserve, it kind of goes back to a study that was done of these nuns in America. And they were studying these nuns, and the good thing about the nuns was they all had similar lifestyles, and they agreed to donate their brains when they died, so they were able to autopsy them. And what they discovered, which was really striking, was that some of these nuns were absolutely full of the kind of plaques and tangles that you would get in somebody with Alzheimer's. But that was in the brain of a nun who had died, who was actually pretty much with it. Is it possible to have disease in your brain, but not to have the symptoms? And the answer is, in some people, yes. So we're going to use Kerplunk as a little analogy for explaining cognitive reserve. So the way this works, these sticks here are representing connections in the brain and how these are built up over time by doing stimulating things. So I'm just putting one in there. Imagine that's me learning to play the guitar or something like that. Now, imagine maybe as we get a bit older, we start picking up diseases in the brain. Things like beta plaques, tau and vascular things. These are what these marbles represent. So this is disease in the brain, which could lead to dementia. But because we've got this strong cognitive reserve here, this is holding back these symptoms, disease from becoming symptomatic. However, if this cognitive reserve were not so strong, so we hadn't done all that thinking, maybe if we'd offloaded all our stuff to AI and there wasn't so much of this cognitive reserve in there, so we hadn't built up that bank account, then as you can see, the disease in the brain is starting to come through and cause symptoms. So down the bottom here, this has come through. We're now seeing the symptoms of dementia down the bottom here because we haven't built up that cognitive reserve.
Tim's Kerplunk analogy suggests that we need to keep adding sticks to the tube to ward off the symptoms of degenerative disease. But here's the thing. We haven't just started pulling out sticks with ChatGPT. We've been outsourcing cognitive load since the year 2000. Bill Clinton orders the US military to open up their accurate GPS to the public. We then stopped looking at maps and we started following blue arrows.
Turn right.
But before we see what that did to our brains, we have to look at the brains that know their way around.
So I remember when she first found her results in the stairwell, and it rapidly became a huge blow-up story about the taxi driver's brains.
This is the famous Knowledge Study. They found that London cabbies had a significantly larger posterior hippocampus. That's the memory centre of the brain, compared with the average person.
So I've heard that, but surely that's just because they're driving around London all day.
Well, you might think that. So Spears and Maguire, they ran this test again, and they compared London cabbies to bus drivers.
Because they're both in London, they're both exposed to smog, customers, driving all day. And so bus drivers are like a perfect control.
The result? The bus drivers who drive the same fixed route every day without needing to plan did not have the enlarged brain area. They put people back in the scanner. Half the time, the participants had to navigate themselves. The other half, they were told exactly where to go.
But when we told them which way to go, there was nothing. It just didn't respond. And that was true of all sorts of fascinating things happening in your brain. It basically just all turns off in the sense your brain's not less active, it's just the bits doing the navigation are just not linked anymore.
The brain realized, I don't need to simulate the city. The machine is doing it for me. So essentially turned off the hippocampus. So there's a story about a god in Plato's Phaedrus. When he was offered the gift of writing, he didn't celebrate. He was horrified. He warned that writing would implant forgetfulness in their souls. He said that people would cease to exercise memory because they rely on that which is written, calling things to remembrance no longer from within themselves, but by means of external marks. We use AI and GPS because we want to save time, but there's one haunting statistic that suggests we might be losing time in the long run. I asked Professor Spears if there was any study that kept him up at night, and he pointed to one study of American death records.
It was a study of like 8 million death records in America of people dying from Alzheimer's, basically, and showing that if they were taxi drivers or ambulance drivers, they're significantly less likely to die of that disease.
Even when correcting for lifestyle health, people who use their brains to navigate, who refuse to offload that effort, were protected.
Most of these people who were taxi drivers for their career and lives did not use GPS.
So they put the sticks in the tube to build up their cognitive reserve.
So we've talked about brain health, but dementia is the biggest challenge of the health and social care of our time. So 1 in 3 people born today are going to go on and develop dementia with their lifetimes. There is hope for new drugs and new diagnoses coming through, but there is hope already with dementia risk reduction, better brain health, because 45% of all cases of dementia globally can be prevented by doing the kind of things that we've talked about. So that's things like physical exercise, not drinking too much, not smoking, having a good diet, and stimulating the brain. If you're worried about anybody with dementia, or might have dementia, or you're caring for someone with dementia, or you want to know more about risk factors and how to reduce your risk of dementia, then come to the Alzheimer's Society website, phone our dementia support line. The details are all at the end.
So what's the takeaway? Are we just throwing away our phones then?
Well, not exactly. We need to use them differently. So there was a landmark meta-analysis that reviewed over 100 papers covering 400,000 adults across 18 years. They found overwhelming evidence that using technology actively, like we did in the 2000s, rather than just passively scrolling, results in a 58% lower risk of cognitive decline at a rate 26% lower than non-users.
So just by subscribing, giving us a like, and commenting what topic you'd like us to address next, you'll hopefully be engaging with these numbers enough to make the most of them. I hope you enjoyed this new series.
See you next time.